So today we have Mr. Kamal Bali, President and Managing Director of Volvo India. Thank you so much for taking the time out. Welcome to Express Drives. So, sir, today tell us a bit about what are the expectations from the Union Budget 2022.
So, Arup, first of all, thank you for having me with you on this. Um, yeah, let me start by saying that budget is actually just a day's event. A lot of stuff goes around the year. In fact, 365 days. And with this active government, I think there's a lot of stuff happening around the year. And I think the last 1 year we have seen a lot of I think next generation reforms, a lot of good stuff has happened. So budget is basically, I would say, taking stock of the situation, setting a vision for the next at least 1 year, if I may say so, and ultimately, I think aiming at creating shared prosperity for everyone, and I think and ensuring that there is equitable growth for everyone. And I mean, this ideally should, to my mind, is the purpose of a budget to take stock of a situation every year. Um, so obviously, our expectations, uh, like anyone, we wear two hats: one as a professional, one as a consumer. So you look at budget from two different lenses. Uh, Obviously, I think first of all, the current budget uh, is being prepared in the context of a few things which have been happening. One is obviously COVID and the challenges which we are facing on account of also the third wave going on. I mean, every budget we've had a first wave, a second wave, a third wave. So I think those challenges have been there. But I think the good news is that there is a consensus that India will grow in FY 2022 at no less than 9%. There are varying estimates from 9 to 9.5. Let's take a pessimistic number of 9%, which is a good news despite the fact that we are climbing from a low base. But nonetheless, I think that is a good news. And I think we need to continue this, keeping in view the fact that uh, we still have to lift millions out of poverty, and we need this growth trajectory to continue for some time, at least for the next so at least this decade. We try to grow at least between 8 to 10%. Then only we can meet some of the vision which we had articulated for ourselves. So, typical challenges I would like to bring forth before I talk about my wish list is I think if I were to look at industry, I think rising commodity prices and oil included is getting a little tough for the economy. Chip shortages, supply chain challenges which the entire world has been facing for last several months. So that has been suppressing revenues of companies to some extent. And then, therefore, all this is leading to inflationary trends. Wholesale inflation is at a pretty high level, even though core inflation and consumer inflation seems to be around 5 to 6 percentage points. But there is a bias for upward movement there as well. So I think these are some of the things. And of course, other challenges are related to land reforms and urban employment, which has been impacted due to the pandemic. So I think these are on the back of this budget, these are some of the challenges. So how do we create jobs um, uh, uh, through growth across manufacturing um, uh, and also in the agriculture sector and in the services? How do we do that? And I think the opportunities are there are several opportunities as well. So I think that's something which we can discuss. So this would be my uh, opening comments. That yes, These are some of the challenges. The growth this year has been good, 9% likely, and next year there could be an expectation of at least 7.5% growth. And we need important thing is we need to grow uh, at upwards of 8%, because let's not forget that we have lost 2 years of growth despite a good rebound in the economy. We will be almost back to where we were in 1920 at the end of 2022, because we went down 7.5 percentage points last year, and this year we are likely to go up by 9%. So we will be back to where we were. But of course, this is true for all economies across the world. So therefore, I think what government can continue to do is of course they also have limited uh, elbow room. What they could do, obviously, in terms of the fiscal balance, in terms of they have they had actually put up a glide path for fiscal deficit from 9 to I think 6.5 or 6.8, and going down to 4.5 by 25 26. So I think on one side there is a responsibility towards the fisc balance, and on other side there is a need demand for spending for growth. So I think if you look at the two or three engines for any economy, I think clearly it is consumption, government spends, private investment, and net exports. So if you look at each of these, I think exports have done phenomenally well. But obviously, imports have also gone up. So because of crude oil prices and other things, so therefore, net exports is always generally exports net of imports is always a negative. It is not adding to the GDP. So obviously, more focus on exports will lead to better growth. Obviously, private investment has still not is still not back to the levels which are expected or which we wish to see. So obviously, because there is still some capacity remaining in the industry system between. I mean, typically we find that the capacity utilization has reached now 70 to 80% on an average in the industry. So another 10 percentage points, you will start seeing the private investment cycle happening. So that is the second pillar of growth. The third, obviously, is government spend, and government spend has been good. It has been taking care of shortfalls in other areas, and so therefore, but obviously, as I said in the beginning, that there is only that much the government can spend. I mean, if you look at the demands on we want to spend on infra, 8 to 10%, health, education, defense, and the typical taxes collected is a limited number of maybe 12 or 13% of GDP. So I think therefore there is a tightrope balance which is there, and I think so this is what we need to see. How much will be the what will be the approach of the government in the upcoming budget in terms of how much of fisc balance and how much of growth, how much focus to growth versus. So these are the two sides of the. I mean, one side is the fiscal responsibility. The other side is obviously more money required to spend, and both are important. Right now, at this point in time, growth is very important because we've seen K type of growth. So one section of the economy or one section of society has needs that extra push so that we have more equitable growth. So if you look at um, the dream would be that we need to grow in digits. If we can grow at 10%, we can be looking at 25 trillion US dollars by 2047, by the time India becomes 100 years age. So I think if you look at, for that you need the next to grow at about 10% next 1 decade. Manufacturing must gallop. Manufacturing in is manufacturing of the GDP is always remained around 17 percentage points. If manufacturing can go up to 25% of GDP, it can have a multiplier effect both in terms of job creation and also opening up opportunities for services and others. The second piece, obviously, is exports should grow, and exports is doing well, and merchandise exports is doing well, and I think it can touch about $400 billion, and I think services exports another 250. So we can be around $600+ billion this year on exports. So exports should grow exponentially. We have lots of opportunities going forward, and agriculture must transform. And I think that is very important. So very clearly, manufacturing must gallop. We need to, and that's a great opportunity. And I'll come back to that in a moment. And exports should grow exponentially with all the ease of doing business and all that in the ecosystem being created. And I think if we can do this, we I believe that we can be on a good wicket. Yeah.
You touched a bit upon private investing, and that has been limited. How do
Yes.
you think the government can make it more viable, more, the policy so that it'll be more encouraging for this field?
No, I think government has done its bit in the sense that they have from the policy and regulate from the policy front and regulatory in terms of ease of doing business. A lot of stuff has happened. We have to accept that a lot of things have happened in the past few years, whether in terms of ease of doing business, cost of doing business, speed of doing business, in terms of all the regulatory support. I think a lot of things have happened now with single window, a national single window regime which is coming in, where just you have to deal with just single point to get all your permissions, all your approvals, whether it is state or central government, different ministries. So I think that's work in progress as well. So I think on the front on your point of what extra government can do, I think it's basically I think greater focus on demand and growth. When if demand can rise more, I think companies will start investing more to create capacity, and when that capacity creation happens, that will be good. So exports is one opportunity in a big way. So exports can rise exponentially over the next few years. So therefore, companies must bring in more technology. This PLI scheme is a I would say a path breaking scheme. This can actually part of the answer to your question. This PLI, which has just been announced and is receiving a lot of good response, could be a path breaking scheme for manufacturing to really uh, go up. And I think the second thing is that uh, the rebalancing of global value chains, which is happening and likely to happen further over the next few years. And it is expected that almost $4 trillion of manufacturing out of $15 trillion is going to be rebalanced um, over the next 4 to 5 years. So India stands a great opportunity. Even if we get 10 to 20% of that shift into India, obviously there are many other people also and many other countries also trying uh, to 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 vie for that position to get that move to their countries. But I think India stands a fair chance.
The subsidy scheme for electric vehicles, now that has benefited the two-wheelers industry quite a bit. So, do you think that the 2022 budget will introduce some additional subsidies for the luxury companies, vehicles who are in this EV segment?
I think government has already talked about the FAME scheme, the fast adoption of electric mobility. So I think that scheme already includes subsidies for electric vehicles, and uh, and I think with the PLI coming in, I don't think there will be another scheme coming in. I think between PLI and FAME and a couple of and the scrapping, the automotive scrapping policy. I think between some of these there are many schemes which are available, and I think uh, we need to see how they pan out on ground when actually we start taking advantage of some of these schemes, because these are all schemes announced in the last 1.5, 2 years, so let them play out, and I think I'm sure government is definitely going to watch how they play out. Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. There's been a repeated request from the automotive industry for a uniform GST rate for auto components because there are a huge fluctuation there. Do you see any of this being addressed this time?
Absolutely. This is actually one of the demands of the automotive industry, and very, very, and it's a very fair demand. And I think it is, of course, obviously, this will not be addressed in the budget, I'm sure, because this is part of the GST regime, and GST will not uh, get addressed in the budget. But nonetheless, this point is very important, and uh, because if I were to tell you that the auto components for a truck, for a bus, which is for public transport or for moving cargo, essential cargo and all, everything, so they fall under the category of 28%, which is clubbed with luxury goods. And
Yeah.
definitely these are not luxury goods, these are the very basic goods, so they should fall under 18% category. And I'm sure, and we have made this request earlier to government. Obviously, they were looking at GST regime to stabilize. Now that GST regime has stabilized, and there is a buoyancy in tax collection over the last 6, 7 months, as we have seen. I think to your point, this is the right time for government to really look at this and really give a big fillip to the automotive, to the heavy automotive sector, especially to the commercial vehicle industry, the public sector, for the bus industry. It will do a lot of good.
So, what can we expect now from Volvo? What is 2022 for Volvo in India?
First of all, let me say that Volvo Group in India is actually, we are doing trucks. We have trucks, buses, construction equipment, um, and then we have a sister unit which is called Volvo Financial Services, which does retail finance for Volvo products in India. So these are the businesses, and of course, then we have Volvo Penta engines, which we are. So the first thing is that in 2021, it has been a good year. We have bounced back. We have, in fact, crossed 2019 levels in 20. So we have crossed in 2021 the pre-pandemic levels. So we are on a good we are on a good trajectory now. 2022 we are seeing continuing growth, both in the trucks and the construction equipment business, as well, and obviously on the back of this, the vehicle finance business will also grow. So we see a definite um, growth trajectory in the coming few years, and we believe that market is really opening up, and the country, with all the drivers of demand which have been doing well, like the infrastructure sector, where a lot of government spend is happening, almost 1.4 trillion dollars happening over the time span of 4 to 5 years, starting couple of years back. So that is on a good wicket. So good traction on road construction, all of this. So we see, and then mining sector is doing well. The logistics is doing well. So I'm sure that we have a very, very good next 1 decade of demand growth possibilities, and clearly on the back of so many initiatives, so many drivers, like National Infrastructure Pipeline, National PM Gati Shakti Yojana, which is the National Master Plan for Multimodal Infrastructure Development. So I think these are all very major drivers of demand for heavy equipment and for commercial vehicles. So we are very happy, and we are really looking forward with a lot of possibilities in the years ahead.
Right. Thank you. Thank you so much, and wishing you all the best for 2022.
Thank you, Mr. Arun.